ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here. Oh man. Yeah. Can y'all hear me now? We good? All right. Okay, we good. Now I was trying to share, so you probably couldn't hear me. But ETM Hotel, Rennie, Shawn, welcome in peace. My name is Shawn. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Um, appreciate everybody that lined up, man. Pastor Bennett was over there trying to present some information. I don't know. I'm gonna have to kind of like watch the information over from the beginning, but it was a beautiful conversation on Garfield channel. I knew that they pretty much weren't going to continue it. I know Garfield was trying to end the show because he had some business that he needed to take care of. And I just wanted to see if anybody wanted to continue that conversation. So if you was over there and you was listening to it, you know what I'm saying? Let me know what's going on with that. I know when I hopped on, Pastor was saying some stuff about Linus and the taxonomy issues and, and saying what his contention is. But all in all, the pastor and methodology is in question. He used they a lot. I don't know who they is. In the scientific community, we have to be specific, right? If someone had issues or contention with the person they're calling the father of science, he needed to he needed to elaborate who those people. He needed to tell us who those people were. Tell us who those people were, and give us names, right? Because in the scientific community, if someone disagrees with your work and they're trying to falsify your work, they write papers. They reveal their work, their findings, and or they expose your methodology and show that it is flawed. And then it's either going to correct itself, or you're going to have to throw it all out if there's any correction that needed to be made. Yeah, I figured that that's what he was attempting to do, was that he was attempting to try to argue against evolution. So what I want to do today is not take all day, but try to make this short and not get into a long argument, drawn out argument over something that science has already decided and demonstrated. But before, again, I got to bring this up again as people are coming in tonight. Facebook Live. All right, 3 doctors, 3 moderators. We are going at the doctors. Bring your questions and answers. If you're anti-vaxxer, this is the show for you. If you don't want the vaccine, you got issues with the vaccine, you got more questions about the vaccines, you have some causes concern about the vaccines. If you're on the fence about the vaccine, be a part of the discussion. Chill Talk on Facebook Live. You'll be seeing me and everybody else posting it. Join it. Join the discussion. Be a part of the discussion. Let's get it. Let's build on it. Let's go. So, initially, I wanted to deal with scientific racism, and I wanted to get into this article real quick. And I just want y'all to kind of like ride with me real quick on this, and then we can go from there. The reason why I call scientific racism pseudoscience is not because I'm calling it that, is because it is. All right. So, A Brave Old World, an analysis of scientific racism, and Badil. All right. So the question: what is the difference between black natives slicing up a white missionary and a white mob lynching a helpless Negro? Answer: very little. And for the victims, none at all. Whatever the reasons, whatever the excuses, whatever the motives, the basic behavior mechanisms is the same. They are both cases of members of the in group attacking members of the out group. That quotes from Desmond Morris. All right, in racialized boundaries, race, nation, gender, color, and class, and an anti-racist struggle, Flora Antheus and Naira Uval Davis state, race is one way by which the boundary is to be constructed between those who can and those who cannot belong to a particular construction of a collective or population. In the case of race, this is on the basis of immutable biological and physiognomic difference, which may or may not be seen to be expressed mainly in culture of life or lifestyle, but is always grounded in this separation of human population by some notion of stock or collective heredity of traits. While Antheus and Uval Davis state reflects the most common association between race and genetically inheritable traits, the science involving the subject is often imprecise, and more imprecise, and more often simply false. The phrase, the notion and stock of collective heredity of traits, implies an uncertainty towards what has consistently throughout history has been understood as a proven biological truth, regardless of evidence stating the opposite. In fact, the Western concept of race, although socially constructed, was always rooted in biological features. That is, the characteristics used to classify individuals into races were always assumed to have a basis non trivially rooted in human biology. Many scientists have been satisfied to use false statistics, poor methodology, and illogical conclusions to prove the theory that biology is a predicate of culture without regard for real evidence stating the opposite. Without any concrete evidence, why would scientists want to go to all the trouble to create distinct biological races? According to Maria Castagna and George Sefadi, whites created different sciences and scientific theories to justify, legitimize, and maintain the existing social order. Therefore, rather than being based solely in the objective observation, scientific racism is a scientific tradition in which biology is used not only to prove the existence of race, but also to maintain existing social hierarchies. The recent Food and Drug Administration approval of Badil, a congestive heart failure drug created by Nitromed, looks to continue to reinforce the traditions of scientific racism. Marketed specifically to African Americans, it is the first drug to specifically target a racial group. A combination of 20 milligram of isobiode dinitrate and 37.5 milligrams of hydrolazine hydrochloride. The two components have been used for years to treat high blood pressure and angina, which is chest pain, while acicobid dinitrate helps the body make a tiny molecule called nitric oxide. Hydrolazine helps prevent its rapid destruction. The creation of the nitric oxide allows arteries to widen and lets blood travel through them more easily, decreasing the heart's workload. While researchers believe that Badil works best in individuals that produce low levels of nitric oxide, few small studies suggest that blacks have more difficulty making it or using nitric oxide than whites. Not all blacks have these troubles, of course, nor does everyone else have plenty of nitric oxide. All right, so this is the example. So Badil approval raises important questions about the future of genetic-based medicine, as some experts worry about the precedent of accepting race as a crude mark of underlying biological differences, which could still leave many individuals being treated with drugs that don't work well for them. By using race to distinguish who is more suited to use a drug, pharmaceutical companies are practicing a modern form of scientific racism and ignoring the social reasons as to why African Americans are twice as likely to develop congestive heart failure. To understand modern scientific racism, however, it is important to understand what scientific racism is, okay, and how it is to be used in the past. While science has the reputation of objectively testing theories using the scientific method, scientific racism is the exact opposite. I'm going to say that again. While science has the reputation of objectively testing theories using the scientific method, scientific racism is the exact opposite. It seeks to create definitions of race and culture based on opinion and extremely questionable evidence. Suppose scientific evidence was marshaled to establish both the existence of different racial types and their deception with the hierarchy of superior and inferior, where the black was regarded as inferior. The important distinction between science and scientific racism is that the creation of separate racial categories was not solely of the sake of a biological system of classification, but rather of political means. So I don't want to read this next quote or continue on there. I just want to give you the meat and the potatoes. The meat is science has the reputation of objectively testing theories using the scientific method. Scientific racism is the opposite, has no method, has no means in science. Therefore, it's ruled as scientific racism. Wiki gave you an article on scientific racism, and it told you within the first sentence what it is. Scientific racism, sometimes termed biological racism, in the pseudoscientific belief that empirical evidence exists to support or justify racism, racial discrimination, racial inferiority, or racial superiority. Historically, scientific racism received credence throughout the scientific community, but it is no longer considered scientific. Dividing humankind into biological distinct groups is sometimes called racism, racialism, race realism, or race science by its proponents. Modern scientific consensus rejects this view as being irreconcilable with modern genetic research. Now, I'm going to stop right there. And then I want to go into, I already got into research on his stuff, but I want to go into this. All right. Why do scientists argue and challenge each other's results? Give me 1 second because I think I'm getting a message. Yep. And I got a message. Okay. All right. I see. Hold on, y'all. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Everybody, I see y'all. Okay. All right. So y'all stuck on animal surface level science. Go deeper. I dare you. All right. So I'm not going to bore anybody. Well, I'm not going to entertain any ignorance today. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something that people don't do. All right. Science. Why do they are? All right. So you already know what an argument is: a disagreement between people without some issue they feel is important. A scientific argument is defined as people disagreeing about scientific explanations, claims, using empirical data, evidence, to justify their side of the argument. All right. So in the chat, you have a sister. Her name is well, she's been chat hopping lately, but she says everyone want to claim apes till you ask them what DNA is. Right? So there, all right. So a scientific argument is defined as a people disagreeing about scientific explanation, claims, using empirical data, evidence to justify their side of the argument. So, truth seeker, what evidence do you have to support your claims to justify your side of the argument? What empirical data, not just any data, what empirical data do you have to justify your claims, your argument? I'm gonna read it again. If you're going to be in the chat and try to make a scientific argument is designed as people disagreeing about scientific explanation, which is claims, using empirical data, evidence to justify their side of the argument. See, a scientific argument is a process that scientists follow to guide their research activities. Scientists identify weaknesses and limitations in other arguments, with the ultimate goal of refining and improving scientific explanation and experimental designs. The process is known as evidence based argument. Over here, we do evidence based argument. What up, Corey? Okay. All right. I got you. We share 50% of our DNA with a banana. Don't see y'all claiming that though. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. We share DNA with everything on the planet because we have a common ancestor. Having a common ancestor proves to us that we do. So, in a nutshell, the scientific argumentation requires scientists to support their claims, either for or against a particular idea or explanation, with evidence that has been gathered through observation or experimentation, and then use logic and reason to justify why that evidence support their claims. Scientific arguments use evidence and data rather than belief or opinion to support a claim because evidence and data can be empirically re-examined and retested, whereas beliefs and opinions, no matter how strongly held, cannot be empirically verified. Learning how to construct a valid scientific argument will help you recognize arguments that are unscientific, those based wholly or in part of emotion, ignorance, misinterpretation of scientific evidence, or denial. Now, I read that for a reason, because a lot of times when we get ourselves caught up in conversations with creationists and you hear them say certain things based on unscientific data or your understanding of science or your understanding of the subject matter, right? You should be able to immediately recognize when someone is being unscientific and not using evidence to support claims, right? There are people who always tell you, go look it up for yourself. Or there are people that tell you to go deeper. You're on the surface. Going deeper will be dealing with primary evidence. Primary evidence will be revealed in, let's see here. Let's see if I can get the leaky foundation up. Nah, I ain't gonna do that. Let me do one better. Let's do this. I got y'all attention, right? We vibing and we building. I don't want to make too much of a fuss out of it. I just want to kick it in high gear. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Your first time, like the show, share the show. Make sure y'all watch Science with Shawn. It's a nice little episode we got going on. Also watch all our other shows and programs we have on here. As you can see, we got some Orisha studies. We got the origins of the Yoruba. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of historical stuff dealing with West Africa, sovereign power in Ghana. Yep, blacks in science, right? The voyage by means of cover-up. What we talking about? We got a lot of stuff, a lot of content on here from over the past few years regarding West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, and South Africa, and some North Africa. What I'm going to get ready to play for you is a video that has been on our channel for a while. And I want to kind of show y'all, I don't want to kind of show y'all, I want to show y'all to what extent of research levels that, are members of whatever team, whether it's the Amara Squad, whether it's the Master Warrior Clan, whether it's Kofi Pi research team and others, how we go deal with the primaries. So I'm gonna put this video on the screen. Let me rewind it back, and I wanna before we set it off, this is Brother Black Panther when he was in South Africa. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is primary research. Watch this.
But this one, it uses the sun, and we call it Tupanaboka Moridia Millennium. Then in English, it's a millennium sundial. So the reason why they decided to write in English and Setswana. So remember, in Botswana, they speak Setswana. So even here, we speak Setswana. So Setswana is the main indigenous language around this area. Because remember, in South Africa, we have a total of 11 official languages. Then out of those 11, I can speak and understand 8. Yeah, because me, I speak Setswana. So Setswana, that's my mother's tongue. There is Pedi, Soto, Zulu, Xhosa is in the belly, Afrikaans and English. Un petit peu français. All right, then over here. Yeah, then over here, this is going to be our timeline. Yeah, so the timeline starts from 6 in the morning. So this is going to be sunrise to sunset. But now the timeline goes anti-clockwise. So the reason why it goes anti-clockwise is because it was designed according to the direction of the sun. Then in the middle, this is going to be the 12 months of the year. So we've got January this side, December every other side. So what we normally do, you pick up the stick. Then firstly, you must know the month. Then today's date. So today is the 10th of May. So if maybe it was the 1st of May, I was supposed to place the stick right at the beginning of the line. But each and every day you have to move the stick, meaning the 10th should be somewhere here. At the end of the month, the stick should be at the end of the line. So the 10th should be somewhere here. Okay, then I'm gonna put my stick up straight. Then where the shadow of the stick is casting, that will be our time. So what the time when we are watching?
What time is it?
Record.
What time is it?
15 minutes, before 11.
10:50. That's impressive. Exactly.
Right, so by 11 o'clock, the shade will be here. 1200, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So meaning in the morning, the shadow will cast this side. Then in the afternoon, the shadow will cast this side. But the disadvantage about the sundial, no sun, no time.
No time.
The cradle of human. Hope I make it out. All right, let's go. Mossy Warrior Clan. Home to I can see this place is pretty good condition. Some man-made entrance road. It's pretty cool.
All right, so right here, if you're unaware of what's going on in South Africa, they are at the cradle of human, mankind.
Going 200 and some steps down. 60 meters into the earth. Some of our first ancestors. Australopithecus, Littlefoot, this is Bless. Further we go down, the cooler is starting to get. Cool. Cool. Some rain just got on me. I don't know where that came from. In here. Yes, indeed.
I want to get to the point where he started talking, and then I'm not gonna hold it up too much long on the video. I'm gonna let y'all go back and watch it. I'm gonna put it in the chat. So let me get to where he started talking. Cause they take a long.
The fossils.
So
once or twice in a week to come and look for more fossils. So they are scared that if maybe we go up there, we might.
hold on, I gotta hold on.
There is an opening or a shaft. So Littlefoot accidentally fell into the caves. And now I can confirm that a Littlefoot is a female. But previously, we used to say Littlefoot is a male. So last year at Wits University, they were unveiling the skeleton after almost 20 years of excavation. Then it was confirmed that Littlefoot is a female because at least they managed to look at the pelvis bones. Then the skeleton is 3.3 million years old, which means Littlefoot is the oldest Australopithecus fossil ever discovered in South Africa. And again, Littlefoot is even older than Lucy because Lucy is 3.2 million years old. But now we can say that the area is well protected. Even the gates are closed, so they don't allow anyone to go in here. Because the scientists, they come here once or twice in a week to come and look for more fossils. So they are scared that if maybe we go up there, we might step into some of the fossils. So that's the reason why they don't allow anyone to go in here. But this is where Littlefoot was found. Then this one over here, this is just a replica skull of Mrs. Place. But the size, this is the exact size. Then after we're done with the cave tour, you will be able to see an excavation site where Mrs. Place was found in 1947. But to be honest, Mrs. Place was firstly discovered by the Italian miners during the 1800s, because Mrs. Place was found outside of the cave in a dumping site. Then in 1947, Dr. Robert Broom and his assistant, John Robinson, they were blasting using the dynamite. Because as you can see, around the skull, there is a crack. So this skull was discovered in 2 pieces because they were blasted. Then it was reconstructed again. The skull is 2.15 million years old. So which means Littlefoot is older than Mrs. Place. And now there is a debate about the gender of Mrs. Place, because some scientists believe that the skull represents a young boy. So don't be surprised if maybe next time you come back, I'm no longer talking about Mrs. Place. I have changed to
Mr. Place.
Mr. Yeah, then the name, Mrs. Place. That's not the original name of the skull. So Mrs. Place is a nickname given to the skull by the Star Media, because one of the journalists could not say the long scientific name. Then clever enough, he shortened the name to Place, because the scientific name of Mrs. Place is Placianthropus transvalensis, which means a near human found way in the transvalensis. Then about 2 million years ago, the Australopithecus became extinct. Then there comes a new species called the genus Homo. Because remember, we are the Homo sapiens. But only 5 of the genus Homo originated in Africa. So the first one is called Homo habilis. Then the Homo habilis are also known as the handy man, because those are the first species to use stone tools. Then after the Homo habilis, there comes the Homo ergaster. So the Homo ergaster are sometimes referred as the Homo erectus. So Homo erectus, that's when we started to walk upright. Then about 1.9 million years ago, the Homo ergaster moved out of Africa into Asia and Europe. Because according to the scientists, our ancestors moved out of Africa in 2 movements, known as out of Africa 1 and out of Africa 2. So out of Africa 1 involves the Homo ergaster moving out of Africa into Asia and Europe. So when they migrated to Europe, Asia, that's when we started to have the likes of Homo heidelbergensis, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo florensis, Homo antecessors. So they all evolved where? In Asia and Europe. So have any one of you heard about our new finding called Homo naledi?
Yes.
Yeah, because Homo naledi was discovered in 2015. 13. So close by, about 8 kilometers away from here, there is a cave called the Rising Star Cave. And amazingly, Homo naledi does not consist of one individual. So Homo naledi consists of 15 individuals. Then according to the scientists, the reason why they managed to uncover 15 individuals, it is believed that Rising Star Cave, where they found Homo naledi, used to be a burial site. Then I know that some of you, later on, you will be going to Marope, to the museum. So at the museum, you are going to see the original Homo naledi. So Homo naledi is going to be the first one. Then the last one, Homo sapiens. And the Homo sapiens, we emerged about 190,000 years ago. Homo naledi is 235,000 years old. But now, there is no way that you can visit the Rising Star Cave, the cave where they found Homo naledi. The reason being, in 2013, after Professor Liebecker discovered Homo naledi, he went on a Facebook, then he posted a message, National Geographic, stating that he was looking for people to come and assist him to remove the bones out of the cave. Then some of the requirements for the applicant is that you must be skinny and be short.
What?
Yes. Then over 60 people applied, but he only chose 6 ladies, of which 4 were from the US, Canada, and Australia. The reason being the entrance of the Rising Star Cave. That's 18 centimeters.
Mercy. Small.
And the reason why Africa is described as the cradle of humankind, the answers are very, very simple. Oldest fossils were found where? In Africa. Because in Africa, we're talking millions. But when you go to Europe, Asia, we're talking thousands, which simply tells us that humankind originated in Africa. Because human populations appear to be different in terms of color, body size, hair texture, and other physical attributes. Beneath the surface, we are all visually identical. There is no genetic boundary for race. We are the same species.
We are the same species. All right, so I wanted to kick that right there because, you know, we talking about evolution and all of that, and we talking about classifications, and we talking about DNA, right? Let's go for kids, yo. When you're dealing with a kid, you got to meet them where they are. All right, so that was a beautiful video right there. Shouts out to brother Black Panther, who is asleep right now because he's back overseas doing his thing. But he had me up at 3 o'clock in the morning talking yesterday. So here we go. DNA is a material that carries all the information about how a living thing will work and function. For instance, DNA in humans determines such things as what color the eyes are, how the lungs work. Each piece of information is carried in on a different section of the DNA. These sections are called genes. DNA is short for the oxyribonucleic acid. I always mess it up when I try to pronounce it out loud. It is in every cell of every living thing. It is in every cell of every living thing. DNA is found in structures of the cell called chromosomes. Both DNA and chromosomes are tiny. Scientists need to use very powerful microscopes to see them. Peep it. If it's gonna play. Well, no. All right. So when DNA works correctly, it helps keep the body functioning properly. DNA helps cells to make substances called proteins, which the cells need to live. DNA also allows living things to reproduce. The genes in DNA pass along physical traits from parents to children. sometimes there are mistakes in DNA. These mistakes are called mutations. They can cause diseases and other problems. Do we really have to continue? All right, so let's see what they say for the student. Now, let's go straight to the scholar. All right, so DNA is organic, chemical, or complex molecular structure that is found in all prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells and in many viruses. All right, and look, keyword, many viruses. Okay, that's why you have different type of viruses. You got RNA viruses and DNA viruses. So let's go with what this is, and let's go with what this is. All right, prokaryotic is also spelled prokaryote, an organism that lacks a distinct nucleus and other organelles due to the absence of internal membranes. Bacteria are among the best known prokaryotic organs. The lack of internal membranes in prokaryotes distinguishes them from eukaryotes. What are eukaryotes? Any cell or organism that possesses a clearly defined nucleus. The eukaryotic cell has a nuclear membrane that surrounds the nucleus in which the well-defined chromosomes, bodies containing hereditary material, are located. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's look at the DNA in plants. All right. Like all living organisms, plants use DNA. It says it right there in the first line as their genetic material. The DNA in plant cells is found in the nucleus, the mitochondria, and the chloroplast. The latter two organelles are descendants of bacteria that were captured by the eukaryote cell and have become endobiotes. Now, let's go back to eukaryote. Y'all see the image here, correct? Animal cell. All right, so we know what plants is. Now, let's do this. Let's go to I'm in here. My bad. All right. Plants and humans are more similar than you think. Don't want to read all the other stuff because it just really gets into something, but that first part is actually a good little part. I want to kind of go on down. An ancient ancestor of both plants and animals first developed EYA genes. You know what? Yeah, we got to. Sorry. All right. So you probably wouldn't conclude that plants and humans are related just from looking at them. After all, we're not green and we can't use light to produce sugars. But if you look beyond the leaf and go deep into a plant's genome, you'll see some striking similarities. Believe it or not, plants and animals share many of the same genes, but we use some of them in different ways. For a good example of this, you need only to look at the eyes absence genes. Now, these genes help flies build eyes, aid in human development, and contribute to plant embryogenesis. Like many genes, was first described in fruit flies. We know that, right? Y'all remember that test that they did. However, geneticists found that a loss of the gene caused flies to develop without any eyes, hence the eyes absent name. Since that time, there have been numerous versions of EI described. So humans have 4 different versions. Flies have just one, and plants have their own distinct version as well. Though the DNA coding for each of these versions is different, they're similar enough that they have been collectively labeled as the EI gene. Now, this gene produces proteins by the same name, a common convention in biology. Typically, when you think of proteins, we think of them as serving one function, like how a hammer is used to hammer nails, but not to tighten bolts. EI proteins are not like this. Instead, they're like Swiss Army knives of proteins because they're capable of doing some dramatically different processes within the cell. Their most well-known activity to help regulate gene expression, which is the reading of a gene. In fact, EI proteins help direct the formation of eyes and flies by regulating when and where important eye-forming genes are used. This is why variants in DNA that prevent formation of eye proteins results in the loss of flies' eyes because of their ability to regulate gene expression. EI proteins are considered transcriptional cofactors similar to transcription factors. The co points to the fact that the EI proteins have to get help from other proteins in order to regulate gene expression. Now, the function of the EI genes is regulating gene expression appears to be relatively new ability in plants. EI is missing an important part of the protein, which prevents it from acting as a transcriptional cofactor. Instead, its main function is to regulate the action of other proteins. All right, to help understand this concept, it helps to view proteins as small robots whose activity is controlled by an on and off switch. By flipping the switch, cells can control when a protein is functioning and when it's not. In reality, it's far more complex than this because there are many different kinds of switches and dials that control a protein's function. And some proteins don't have a switch at all. By altering these switches and dials, cells can control the process that are happening inside them. Specialized proteins are built by a cell whose sole purpose is to regulate the function of other proteins. All right, so we should have some type of understanding there. I would rather you use these sources down here if you wanted to get into that, but you know that's the whole makeup, right? So this gene shows how plants and humans are more similar than you think. All right, so let's see this. This is where well, when I say she, I'm saying the sister, but what's happening is the sisters in the chat, she's confusing the argument by trying to wholeheartedly leave everything up to that. In fact, carbon atoms make up the backbone of many important molecules in your body, including proteins, DNA, RNA, sugars, and fats. But what it is people are misunderstanding what she's saying because it's out of order. And I think initially, whatever she was saying before, she's kind of really messing it up. But you know what I'm saying? I can't follow pseudoscience. So, you know, demonstration actually beats conversation. It was pretty rough time to actually have a conversation with her because of the way she was taking, she was acting yesterday. Well, was it yesterday? Yeah, I think yesterday. But anyway, this takes us back here to what is a scientific argument. Okay. So again, just to conclude that in a nutshell, scientific argumentation requires scientists to support their claims, either for or against a particular idea of explanation, with evidence that has gathered through observation, experimentation, and then to use logic and reason to justify why that evidence supports their claim. Scientific arguments use evidence and data rather than belief or opinion to support a claim, because evidence and data can be empirically re-examined and retested, whereas beliefs and opinions, no matter how strongly held, cannot be empirically verified. And so when we go back to taxonomy, what's wrong with You know, hold up, let me get to this. I want to use. We just use it. What's wrong with this? Or, you know, would y'all like to use this image right here? What's wrong with the classification? Like, what can we not get from this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with the classification? What real issue do we actually have with that? Is there any real issue with that? I know the pastor ain't watching, you know what I'm saying? So I can't really get into this argument. What's real science? When you say you do real science, what's real science? She acting like I don't know what DNA is. Oh, hold on. Teach. Yeah, she said boo. Yep. So done this double standard at work. Go teach. Because yesterday when I asked you to explain what you was trying to explain yesterday, and I was sitting there listening in the actual chat, you actually daggered yourself when you start talking about Darwin and natural selection. You know what I'm saying? You act like you had contention with him, and then you turn right back around and you actually gave an example. So here you go. Here are some examples of natural selection. In a habitat, there are red bugs and green bugs. The birds prefer the taste of red bugs, so soon there are many green bugs and a few red bugs. Then green bugs reproduce and make more green bugs, and eventually there are no more red bugs. All right, so this the basics, and this for everybody in the chat. I'm not trying to argue with nobody, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? People say they do real science. All right, hold on. Let's see if you're doing real science. Let's see if you're doing real science. You on yet? Nope. Come do real science. Show us how you do real science. I'm a liar now? What did I lie about? Nah, the link in the chat. All right. You want to share your screen? You can. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm mute out. Let me know, and you can show me how you do real science.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to share my screen on here. I do on
Okay.
Zoom, but I don't know on here. I can send you.
Are you on your phone, or
Yeah.
are you on your laptop? Okay.
Phone.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can.
I mean, I can send you all the links and you can put it up and I can read it.
Okay.
Because it's not going to take long. Like, I get that you guys are classifying by the lowest connection to the origin of human. But what I mean by real science, and I'm not saying you don't do real science, I'm just saying people who use DNA to prove themselves without knowing what DNA is pseudoscience, because you're using scientific fact incorrectly. You're saying that our origin comes from animals when DNA tells you your origin comes from carbon, which comes from the cosmos. So we'll start with.
I think that's where the confusion may lie, is because when you're using taxonomy to say something like that, like look, like let's look up and let's try to just get some clarity.
Okay.
Let's see if we can find out what an actual animal is, and then hold on. And let's see if we either agree or we disagree.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you right now, we're gonna agree, but we can do it.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it like. I'm not saying that me and you. I'm saying like, let's see if we agree with what it's saying.
Okay.
Let me get to the right part of what I want to get to, so we ain't going all the way around it. And Amelia, do you have a problem with being listed as that?
As an animal?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a problem with being listed as an animal if that's what people want to classify me as. But before anyone tells me what I am, I'm going to make sure I tell them what I am. So you can say I'm an animal because of DNA, but then I'm going to tell you right back that DNA says that I'm from carbon, and carbon is from the cosmos. So you can tell me I'm an animal, but I'm going to correct you and tell you, well, if you're looking at DNA, we need to look at what DNA is so we can know what we're looking at.
Okay, so I'm not talking about DNA right now. I'm talking about how you're actually listed. Do you agree with that you share? Well, do you agree that you share DNA with a plant?
Yeah, I mean, again, 50% of my DNA is shared with a banana. So there's no disputing that. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at what DNA is, then you're going to find a lot of connections between plants and animals, because the building block of life is carbon. So before you equate me to a banana or an animal, let's use that same DNA to equate me to what DNA says I am. Carbon.
All right. So let's go. And let's walk slow, because I don't want to get lost. All right. The curriculum unit, the Animal Kingdom, is designed to be used with students in grades 5 through 7. For instance, we ain't got to read all this. So we go here. The Animal Kingdom will address the following concepts: taxonomic systems, the Animal Kingdom, vertebrate animal phylum, and so on and so forth, invertebrates, and go from there. All right. So let's just go directly to the animal kingdom. Approximately 2 million different species of animals have been identified on planet Earth, and 10,000 more species of animals are discovered every year. They have been classified into 9 major phyla. A phyla being invertebrates, animals with a backbone. So do you agree with this, what it says next? The one phylum of vertebrates, animals with a backbone, is further classified into 5 different classes: mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, it continues to say, science complicated, not written. In order for scientists to discover and study animals, they must be classified in a group according to resemblance and differences using pre-established rules. The branch of science which deals with the classification is called taxonomy and systemic zoology. All right. So the taxonomy system. which deals with the king and Amelia. It's the largest of the 5 existing kingdoms on the planet. We all agree to that. Scientific classification system is divided into 7 major groups: kingdom, phylum, or division, class, order, family, genus, and species. Do you have a problem with any of the 7?
I'm not going to have a problem with anything.
Okay. All right. So yesterday in your conversation, if you're not going to have a problem in the direction of where this is going, your main concern is that you are a carbon person. You are of the cosmos.
Yes, what DNA consists of, what the building block of all life is the carbon atom. That is at the core of all building blocks of life, yes.
Okay, now, does that exclude anyone else on this planet or anything else on this planet?
What do you mean by that?
I'm saying anyone else on the planet have carbon, or just you, me, and people that look like us? Do chimpanzees, apes, monkeys, gorillas, orangutans, lions, tigers, bears, plants, do they have carbon?
Right. Soil, yes. The building block of life in general, is carbon. Yes.
All right. So are we carbon or are we made of it? Partially.
Yeah, the human being, yes, is at its very core is a DNA structure of coding, and at the core of that DNA is carbon. Yes.
Can you survive in the cosmos right now? You.
We live in the cosmos.
Okay, so Earth is the cosmos.
Is it not in the cosmos?
Now, well, maybe. Hold on. Let me rephrase that. All right. If we go outside of this atmosphere and deal with the actual cosmos outside the atmosphere, could we survive in the cosmos?
Oh, a pure carbon being, absolutely. A pure carbon being, yes.
Hold on. Let me define what the cosmos are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to define it because I want to give you a fair chance to actually answer it after we properly define it. All right.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna put it on the screen, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll just continue to let you try to get it all out, and then we'll see what we can clean up. So cosmos is a noun. All right. It's basically universe sense, an orderly harmonic system of universe, right? Complex, orderly, inclusive system, right? So we agree with those terms, right? You don't have no problem with that. Okay. So
I mean, yeah, the cosmos is.
But it also often means universe, right? So it gets more broader when it says the universe. So if we go down and we go into like the origin of the cosmos, like it's saying right here. So let's deal with the universe. Could you live you saying that you could live outside of this atmosphere in the universe?
And you know what? Here's the beauty of why I said if I was a pure carbon being, yes. Because when you look at what pure carbon is, most renowned scientists scream about what black matter is. If you're looking at what black matter is, it is pure carbon. If you look at Vanta Black, that is a great example of it. Black holes are a great example of it. The sun actually, as it dies, according to mainstream science, the sun, as it dies, loses its hydrogen and starts putting out carbon. So yeah, if I was a pure carbon being, yeah, I would do just fine. But unfortunately, I'm not a pure carbon being for now.
All right. Well, some people are under the impression that you're meaning that you actually can live somewhere else. So I wanna kind of get into
If I was a pure carbon being and nothing but carbon, yes, much like a black hole, I could live in the cosmos away from this planet. Correct.
okay, but you're not, right?
No, I'm not. I'm a human being, so I'm
Right.
not just solidly carbon, no. Unfortunately.
Okay, so what if the building blocks of life is not carbon?
Hey, what she just said? Though? I just came in. I didn't
Oh,
hear the question or the answer.
Yeah, re-explain what you just said, Trucy.
Yeah, what I said is if I was a pure carbon being, like say a black hole or say like black matter, then yes, I could. Or like the sun when it loses its hydrogen and starts putting out carbon, then yeah, I could. But I'm not a carbon being or entity or planet or any of the sort. I am a mixture of atoms. I am a mixture of elements. So I'm not a pure carbon being.
Well, yeah, because carbon just an atom, but I mean, a element, but you know what I mean. Like in a black hole, like carbon couldn't live near the event or horizon of a black hole.
No, a black hole is pure carbon. That is what a black hole is. No light can. If you wait before you even say anything, let me tell you why I'm saying that. Okay.
All right.
So if you've ever, and I hope we can pull up what Vanta Black is. Vanta Black is carbon nanotubes, right? So it's called the blackest color or substance on the earth, but what actually is down to its molecular level, its structure is carbon in nanotubes, in tiny little tubes. And what carbon nanotubes show is that 99.7% of all light is absorbed by pure carbon. 99.7% of all light. So it's essentially a black hole. That's what scientists were able to demonstrate and repeat here in the natural world with Vanta Black. That it actually is a black hole. No light can escape it because it is immediately absorbed. So yeah, if I was a pure carbon being, yeah, do just fine actually.
Now they have created conditions similar to like miniature black holes here on Earth to do experiments, right? When they,
pure carbon was used.
Well, they was using all kinds of particles, you know what I'm saying? Because they used the Large Hadron Collider, and they collide these particles. You know, heavier particles, when you collide them together, they go into smaller particles, right? And so that they use heavier particles and just to so they can take snapshots of when they crash into each other, when they break apart, what happens in between those you know, milliseconds or whatever. And so they just take the snapshots to see, and then they can see that they do create these mini black holes or whatever. But like what a black hole is it's a dense. So you got a difference between certain black holes, because is you talking about a supermassive black holes, or is you talking about a miniature micro black hole? Because that's two different, you know what I'm saying? It's two different sciences right there.
Okay, so what I like to do is get down to what is the definition of, what does it consist of, what is its purpose, what does it do? The basis of what a black hole does is absorbs
like
all.
I'm saying, like you got to specify what are you talking like. So a supermassive black hole has different
massive,
properties.
small, or made in a laboratory. What a black hole does is absorb all light. That is one of the telltale signs of it being a black hole, is that light cannot escape it.
Okay.
That's one of the telltale signs. So I'll send you. Are you allowed to play videos on here? If there's no audio, there's no sound. Are you allowed to?
No, I got an article. What are you trying to like show?
Vanta Black light absorption. If you could just
Okay,
put
so you changed it from Vanna Black to light absorption? Because
no, just
I got Vanna Black up here.
yeah, just put Vanta Black light absorption. So you can see what I mean by I like repeatable things that are seen in nature. I can't see what's going on in a hydro collider. I'm
So
not
what do you
there.
mean you want to see it with your naked eye? Because if you're talking about black hole, then you can't see it with your naked eye.
Yeah.
You again, this is why I like repeatable evidence that you can see. With Vanta Black, you absolutely can see.
Okay.
Without a shadow of a doubt, you can watch Vanta Black absorb 99.7% of light. You can actually see that.
Okay, so hold on. So Vanna Black is a material developed by the Surrey Nanosystems in the United Kingdom as in one of the darkest substances known, absorbing up to 99.965 of visible light. So the name is a compound of the acronym Vanna Black.
Yeah, vertically aligned nanotubes of carbon.
So going back to just the clear example of what we're talking about, the name is the compound of an acronym Vanna, which is vertically aligned nanotube arrays, and the color black. The Vanna is
No. Look up. Okay.
I'm just
composed of.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Vanna Black is composed of a forest of vertical tubes grown on a substance using modified chemical vapor deposition process. When light strikes Vanna Black, instead of bouncing off, it becomes trapped and is continually deflected among the tubes, eventually becoming absorbed and dissipating into heat. Now, Vanna Black was an improvement over similar substances developed at the time. Vanna Black absorbs up to 99.965% of visible light and can be created at 400 degrees Celsius or 752 Fahrenheit. NASA has previously developed a similar substance that was grown at 750 Celsius, which is 1380 Fahrenheit. So it required materials to be more heat resistant than Vanna Black. Darker materials are possible in 2019. MIT engineers developed a material which reflects a tenth of the amount of light that Vanna Black reflects. The outgassing and particle fallout levels of Vanna Black are low compared to similar substances, which makes it more commercially viable. Vanna Black also has greater resistance to mechanical vibration and has greater thermal stability. So,
yeah. Now,
so now,
if you could
I just want to explain a supermassive black hole, just so we all, because he explained that and that was good. Now we know how that works.
No, because we don't know what is the composition of Vanta Black. We don't know that it's simply carbon on aluminum foil. So if we could classify what carbon is doing there, that was a wonderful definition of what it can do. I just want to make sure we know what it is.
Carbon is the most absorbent element in the universe, at least that known to man for right now in 2021. So like nobody disagrees with that. But what I'm saying is, when you're talking about a black hole, see, a supermassive black hole is gravity. The gravity is so intense that it's pulling light. It pulls the light in so that it can't escape. It's warping space-time. That it's a point in space where the gravity is so intense that it warps space-time, so that light cannot escape from it. So you talking about metal rods and stuff. This is nothing similar to a supermassive black hole. So
I appreciate that. And so what of a small black hole? How come light can't escape that?
I told you, these are created in
small
through
what of a small black hole? How come light can't escape that?
I told you, let me tell you, it's created through colliding particles together. It only happened for a millisecond. It's not even, and the thing is, you can't even directly observe it. You only see the effects of it.
Correct. And so, as I mentioned, first off, because it was not clear, that was, I'm guessing, purposefully ignored and skipped over what Vanta Black is. But Vanta Black is nothing but pure carbon. Pure carbon. That's it. Pure carbon. And what you can see with Vanta Black is much like, I didn't say it was, I said much like a black hole. Light cannot escape it. So if I was pure carbon in the cosmos, I would be much like a black hole where light could not escape me. Small or large, I would have the same properties. That's all I'm saying. Very same properties, same telltale signs. Probably wouldn't even know that I was there.
When I read Venom,
I'm just saying that didn't, you know what I mean? That wasn't a good analogy because carbon
It's not
is
an
an element
analogy. It's
and
not
a
an
black
analogy.
hole is
It's not an
a
analogy.
phenomenon.
It is literally what a black hole does.
all right, so I
Can
have
be mimicked with
What I'm
Vanta
saying
Black.
though is I'm just saying like a black hole is a phenomenon and carbon is an element. So like that's just
Right,
you know
one
what I
that can
mean?
survive perfectly in the cosmos. Happily. And only detected if I were to, I don't know, absorb all
It's a
light
lot of
around me.
elements. All the elements is in the cosmos.
Correct,
You
but
know
what
how carbon is
humans
produced?
I'm fully aware carbon comes from the cars. I'm not denying that. That's
No,
why I
I'm
said if
saying
I was a pure
where is
carbon
it? You
being,
know
I'd be
where is it
just fine.
produced at? You know when stars go supernova, they create the heavier elements, right?
Sir, I study this. I am fully aware carbon comes
Okay, I'm just
from the
saying like
cosmos.
it's an element. It's an elemental part. It's an elemental substance that's in the universe. I mean,
I
it's
fully
not.
agree with you.
Is very absorbent. I guess it's the most
hmm
absorbent as far as I
Most
know. It's
absorbent. It
right.
can actually you really I wish you could show
It's and it's
Vanta Black
binding.
can
It's so it's
oh yeah.
you know that's why we carbon based because it's the binding. It's the glue that keeps
hmm
all of the other elements together. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Carbon is incredible.
But we
Incredible.
got
Mind
so much
boggling.
other. I mean, we got iron in us. I mean, what is special about carbon? You know what I
Well, what's
mean? Like it's
special
so many other
yeah,
elements in us.
yeah, I
that's
want
You
to
know what
correct.
I mean?
try to understand what's the
What's
correlation
so
of. Yeah.
right? So what? The reason why I just sent you the link to what is
Live
DNA. And so what's so incredible about carbon in relation to humans or plants or animals or whatever you want to say, the DNA that we all are looking at, the DNA that we're judging everything by, at the core of what DNA is carbon. That is what is at the core. There are other elements, but
That's
what is
part of
at
what makes up every. I mean,
right, but
DNA.
at the core, what's
It's just
building
one
around it,
part.
right? What's built? Okay, so like a snowflake, right? A snowflake. What a snowflake is building around is a very tiny particle of dust and or pollen, but majority of the time it's dust. So what I'm talking about is not the snowflake itself, but what the snowflake is forming around. That is what protein is formed around. That is what DNA is formed around. Carbon. That's why carbon is important. Because yeah, there may be other elements around, but at the center is carbon. I'm sorry?
Are you sure you want to use this article because it doesn't say anything about carbon?
Yeah, I do want to use that article because it's talking about nucleids. And then I'm going to send you an
Nobody
article.
said it wasn't important. I'm just saying it ain't no more important than all the other elements. I mean, we need all the elements. It's not
Correct.
none of them that we
It
don't
is more
need.
important.
We
It is more.
wouldn't,
If there
wouldn't
were
be.
not for carbon, there would be no need for those other elements, nor a binding agent for those other
What
elements.
about helium and hydrogen? What about them?
Those are great elements,
Where does
but they're
carbon
not at the
come from?
core
Don't you
of what
understand where
DNA
carbon
is.
come from? That's why I tried to tell you about a supernova. So when stars go supernova, you know they produce these is first of all let me slow it down. You know the first two elements, the lightest elements in the universe are hydrogen and helium, right?
I'm aware. You asked
Oh,
me
okay,
why.
fine. So you're aware of that. That's cool. I ain't mad at you. What I'm saying is all the other elements come out of hydrogen and helium. You heard it? Have you ever heard of nuclear fusion?
I'm aware.
So when a
I'm aware.
star when a star has used up all of its nuclear power, right? When all of the elements then crashed and got heavier and heavier and heavier, right? And they can transform into different elements until they produce the element iron, right? Which is the heaviest element in the universe, right? Once it produces iron, then the star's core becomes, the gravity becomes intense that it collapses the outside of the star. So it's an implosion. And then the star goes supernova. And this is how you get all of the heavier elements out into the universe. So it's not like, if anything is going to be special, how come hydrogen and helium are not the most special things in the universe?
The reason
Because
why
carbon comes out of
hydrogen
them
and
the mamas and
helium.
daddies of all of the other elements.
No.
That's all I'm saying. That's it. I mean, like,
No.
that's just.
No.
And if you got
That's,
something else that show me where carbon come
I
from, then I go with that. But for right now, like, as far as everybody that know anything about a star going supernova, we all know that nuclear fusion. This is what they doing with the Large Hadron Collider.
Sir, you asked
You know
me
what
a
I'm
question
saying?
and you're going on a tangent about something completely completely
Okay,
underrated
when we're talking about elements, sir,
in
and
this
that's what
in this
we
right.
talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
We are talking about evidence, and if you want me to go over the
No, I'm
articles
talking
I
about.
sent
I
in
said
already.
elements. I said elements,
Oh,
not
elements.
evidence.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So
that too,
again,
though.
I did send in those articles. I don't know if you're gonna
Well,
well, we
Shawn
can go
can.
over them step by step. That's fine.
I'm just a
So the
guest.
reason
I'm just a fan of the Mossy clan. So
that's fine.
Shawn
I'm a
got
fan of
control.
you guys too. I'm not here, like, I know you guys do debates. I'm not here to debate. I'm here to share information. I'm not here to debate anybody.
No, we not. I'm not. So we just passing back and forth information. I just try to see where you was coming from with the black hole thing. Then we got into carbon, and I just wanted to see why carbon was so special when it's
Right.
just one of many elements. You know what I mean? And
No.
and if anything gonna be special, I'm saying
Can I answer your
hydrogen and
question?
helium should be
Can I answer
special.
your question?
Go ahead.
Can I answer your question? Right. So the reason why carbon in and of itself is so special is because of the very DNA you guys are using to define what is what, right? DNA, right? Is DNA important or no?
DNA is important. It's all important.
Okay, so what is DNA? And I sent in the articles, but
It's
what is
nucleic
DNA?
acids.
Right, okay, so what is nucleic acids? It's protein. It's protein synthesizing, but what is nucleic acids?
Nucleic acid is part of the building blocks of life.
Right. So carbon, not hydrogen, not oxygen. Carbon is the building block of all life. You want life, you need carbon. All of those other elements
So what
do
about
come
helium?
into
Can
play
you
much
have life
later.
without helium and
Sir,
hydrogen? I'm just
carbon,
asking, can
not
you have life
helium.
without helium and hydrogen? That's all I wanted to know.
Carbon is, I don't care how you feel about it. You can ask how come oxygen's
I
not the
don't
building
feel
block.
no
You
way
can
about
ask.
it. It was a question. That's
You
all.
clearly do, because if you really were about science and not your own opinion, you would have no problem understanding carbon is the building block of life, not hydrogen, not oxygen. Carbon, whether you like it or not, it is. It is. There is no debating it. At the center of all life is carbon. You have to get over that. I'm sorry.
Carbon is a
It's
great
not oxygen.
catalyst. I told you
It's
that.
not hydrogen.
Carbon is a great catalyst.
Okay, so then what is the building block of life?
There are many building blocks.
What? No, the building.
As far as life goes,
what is the build? I'm not asking about what's in life. I'm asking you one question.
I think the issue here is we're trying to make. I think, true, you're trying to make one more important than the other when they're all.
It is more. Look, this is science, guys. I didn't write this. This is science. I don't know if you like science or not,
carbon is the most important thing to life.
Okay, that's fine. You know what? Anybody can
No, you
quickly
said
Google.
didn't you say you had that in the back? Didn't you want Shawn to share
I
that?
did put in the back what DNA is. We all agree it's nucleic acid. We all understand nucleic acid is 5 carbon atoms at its core. That binding you keep talking about, carbon is the binding element to all of these things.
Right. It's just it's the
It's the building
catalyst.
block
It's
of
the
life.
like it's just a catalyst. It's like glue. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
my God.
you like okay, if you got a piece of furniture, right? A piece of wooden furniture, you know they use glue to keep the furniture together, right? But the glue is just not the most important thing. It's very important, but
I'm just going to send you the
you can
article on the building
you
block
can
of life.
build a chair. Listen,
That's crazy.
you need all the parts to the chair for it to work. You see what I'm saying? The glue is very important, but all the other wood and the tools and everything else is important to the chair for the chair to work. So I mean, like,
So
I'm
you
just trying to.
disagree with science.
I'm not disagreeing with science. I'm saying carbon is important. I'm not saying that. It's like I said, if you build a chair, it'd be smart to put some glue in the joints. Now you can just put
Carbon
the
is
joints
not just the
together.
glue. Carbon is not just the glue. Carbon is what is composing majority of the things that are in the. We're perfect that you're talking about a chair. Let's leave it right there.
Mm-hmm.
What are trees?
So if we use the chair analogy,
Carbon.
if you want to,
Oh
no. If
no!
we
What
use
did
the
you do
chair
there?
analogy,
Oh no! What did you do there?
no. If we use we
What
good.
are trees?
That's
What
a
are
great
trees?
I'm going with you. If we're using the chair analogy and we want to go back
So we
to
got the wood carbon. We got the
a
glue
tree,
carbon.
no, a tree would be the hydrogen and the helium.
No, it wouldn't. What is a tree?
Or okay, let's
What
come
is a
forward again.
tree?
Let's come forward a little bit then. Maybe it's
What
the
is a
star.
tree?
Maybe the tree is the star. Because the
You
obviously the
okay?
carbon
Are
got
you
to come from
Christian?
somewhere,
Are
right?
you Christian?
No. I'm an anti-theist. Do I got that? Oh, I'm in here. It's
Because
cool. Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of hate toward carbon. You are literally ignoring actual
I
science
didn't say
to put
carbon is
other
important.
elements,
I done told you how
other
important
elements that
carbon
need
was.
carbon for binding. Number one, other elements that would not exist
I'm not. How can I
in
hate
this
on carbon?
realm of. I'm just
Hey,
Because
saying,
hold
carbon is
on,
carbon is the
real
important.
building
quick.
block of life.
Hey,
There is no way.
Corey, hold on real
Mhm.
quick. Hold on. Truth, hold on one second. Hold on. Let me get this out real quick. So the classifications of essential elements, the approximate elemental composition of healthy adult human is listed in this table that I have on the screen. Note that the most living matter consists primarily of so-called bulk elements: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur. The building blocks are the compounds that constitute our organs and muscles. These 5 elements also constitute the bulk of our diet. Tens of grams per day are required for humans. 6 other elements, sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium, chloride, and phosphorus, are often referred to as macrominerals because they provide essential ions in body fluids and form the major structural components of the body. So I'm gonna leave this on the screen, and you can get with all of that all you want, but those 5 are essential.
Okay. And since you're not going to put up anything that I've put up, I'm
And
just
to
going to go
add to
ahead and
that,
I'm going to
Shawn,
go ahead and.
you wouldn't have not a one of them elements without
Okay,
hydrogen and
let me do it
helium
this way.
fusing
Let me do it
together.
this way
So
because you guys clearly have
that's
a
my
problem
point.
with carbon. You guys have a really big problem with carbon. What is the human brain? Is that a muscle? Is the human brain a muscle?
Is it? Yeah, the human brain is a muscle. Yeah,
Okay. What
it's an
are
organ.
muscles? Okay. What are muscle? What is muscle tissue made out of?
It's made out of tissue. I don't know. What is it made out of? You tell me.
Not protein?
Okay, I'm sure it is made out of some
Oh,
protein.
okay. So it's protein, right? What is at the center of protein? What's at the center of amino acid? Is that carbon?
I already told
It
you. We
is. It
already
is
said.
carbon. So what is the
We already
heart?
said
Is the heart a
carbon.
muscle?
Carbon is a catalyst. We already
No,
agreed that
It is no.
carbon
It
is
is
a
not. It is
catalyst.
not a catalyst. It is the center of amino acids. It's a center
Do
of.
you know what a
That is what an amino
catalyst
acid is.
How do they link?
It is what
How,
this
how
is
these
what
things stand
a
together? I mean, I'm trying
amino
to figure out
acid
what.
is carbon. There's no getting around this. What is the heart? Is that a muscle?
Well,
Oh, okay, so
I'm
that's
not.
protein
Listen,
too. How
I'm
come
not
hydrogen?
disagreeing.
How come
I
hydrogen and
think
oxygen aren't the
you're
center
getting
of
off.
protein?
I think we're getting off
No, we're
off
not. You're
of the
just
subject here.
you want to be right so bad. You're ignoring
No, I'm
actual
not.
science to
I
do so.
actually agree with a lot of what you said. I actually agree with it. I said carbon was important, and Shawn
Carbon
just put on
is
the
the
screen.
building block of life, not oxygen, not phosphorus. Carbon is the building block of life. You can like it
Okay.
or hate it. This is science.
How come?
It doesn't
So
really, it's
if we
impartial
hating
to
on
how you
carbon,
feel
how come
about
you
it.
hating on all the other elements? What you got
I'm not
against them?
hating on the elements. I
What
understand
they do to you?
how life is worked out through carbon. Without the carbon, there would be no building blocks for life. There would be no building. It is the building block. So you want to change
So
what is actual
the
scientific
carbon just
fact.
make. I'm just trying to figure out. So the hydrogen and helium, you could do carbon without them, right? You don't need
Those
hydrogen
are
and helium.
elements, yes, and they can stand alone, yes. But let me read this for you since you're
No,
not going to put
I'm just
anything that
saying.
I've. Carbon
No.
is the
Listen to what I'm
universal building
listen,
block of life as we know it.
listen to what
Its
I'm asking you
ability
now.
to form complex, stable molecules.
Hey, I don't know what happened to her, but I ain't letting her back on. I ain't kick her. I did not
Right.
kick her. I did
I was
not
just
kick her.
gonna say my phone show about to die, but
I did not kick her. She now listen, I did not kick her. So this is her source, building blocks of life. Her source. Life is based on complex chemistry, yet only a few of all the available elements participate. Most life supporting reactions on Earth: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Of these, the most characteristic element of biological systems is carbon. In this chapter, we will discuss why carbon is so favored by life on Earth and whether other elements could replace carbon in its dominant role on other worlds. Now, there's the article. We really ain't got no contention with carbon. We know it is essential in life, but it's not the only essential because what makes up carbon?
right.
So,
And not only that, like I said, carbon is a good binder. You know what I'm saying? Like that this is known, one of the known characteristics. You know what I'm saying? It's a catalyst. It's a binder. So we gonna be. It's good to be carbon based. Nobody's saying that, but you don't like. What are you gonna do? Just carbon? You just gonna be carbon by yourself? I mean, I don't. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to understand. Like, what is she getting at with the carbon here? Because I'm trying to let her know that the carbon comes out of hydrogen and helium. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It's lighter elements that fuse together and make heavier elements. I mean, so they all important to life. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no one of them more important than the other.
mm-hmm.
I mean,
I just didn't understand.
I was a low iron baby. You know what I'm saying? When I was born, I had low iron. I had to get the infamil with the iron in it. You know what I'm saying? So iron was important. I mean, I just don't like. I'm trying to figure out what's up with the carbon. You know what I'm saying? Like all of them are essential. All of the elements are essential.
Time out. So her argument, I think, I don't know what happened, true, but you got kicked off or whatever. You like took yourself off. But I think you're not understanding. He said y'all being prejudiced towards carbon. Jamal, you crazy. I really think that Corey just fell off. So it's me and Rasta. I really think that you think that people can't use DNA or how they're using DNA, right? DNA is no, you didn't get kicked off because Corey just left too. Rasta man just left and he came back. I didn't kick anybody off. Nobody kicked y'all off. It's only me and Rasta Man on the panel. Rasta, you can unmute. Nobody kicked y'all off. So to say that we kicked you off is disingenuous, and I immediately said that after that. So what I'm going to continue to say, what is the genetic? Well, okay, all right. You were talking and then you were gone. Just like Corey was just talking and now Corey's gone. Did you kick him out, Rasta? Because I couldn't.
You hearing me though?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to understand is why are we even having this long, drawn out conversation about things. We can't use carbon to map out a genome.
Yeah, I see what you. The thing is, I almost wanted to say it was a waste of time, but the only reason why I'm not.
It really is.
The only reason why I'm not saying that is that somebody could be learning something from it. So you never want to say it's a total waste of time. But
I agree with that too.
I've noticed that what she does is that she reads a few science papers, and then she picks up a few things from it, and she draws conclusions from them, conclusions that the scientists are not making. And another thing with her is that she will make a claim, and when you challenge her on it, she come back and say, "That's not what I'm saying." And I can prove that to you because earlier on she said like dark matter. She didn't say dark matter. She said black matter, but I know she's talking about dark matter. She said dark matter is made of carbon. That's false. That's totally false. Scientists don't know what dark matter is made from. Dark matter is like something they hypothesize because they don't know what it is. They see the effect, but they don't. Just like a black hole, they see the effect, but they don't know what's there. She's saying it's carbon. She's making that up.
If she she was on her cell phone. So if she got off her cell phone to Google or look up something, she kicked herself off. Because that happens to me when I'm on my cell phone and I gotta add myself back. Like if I'm on my cell phone and I do something, that's what happened to her. She was Googling something or she was on another screen.
Or maybe she got a call.
Or I doubt if she got a call. You know what I'm saying? If she got a call, she would still be in it. But if she was Googling and looking up something to continue her conversation with, it'll kick her off because her tab closed. And when her tab closed on her screen, it'll kick you out of here if you're on your cell phone. So real quick, I just want to go through something and talk about this whole genome sequencing. All right. So whole genome sequencing is ostensibly the process of determining the complete DNA sequence of an organism. This is what we're talking about when we refer to DNA. We're talking about the sequencing of organisms, genomes at a single time. This entails the sequencing of all an organism's chromosomal DNA, as well as the DNA contained in the mitochondria and for the chloroplasts. In practice, genome sequences that are nearly complete are called whole genome sequences. Whole genome sequencing has largely been used as a research tool, but was being introduced to clinics in 2014. In the future, personalized medicine, whole genome sequence data may be an important tool to guide therapeutic invention. So we just can't say, I don't want to read no more of this, but when most people are referring to, DNA and things of that nature, they're talking about genetics, right? They're not talking about carbon or referring to carbon being something else. That's what makes it on the sketchy lines of pseudoscience is because you're mixing things up and they're not being interpreted there. So we can have a better communicative structure. We're dealing with what your actual argument is versus DNA, because carbon is not going to help sequence DNA. You understand what I'm saying? Like Rasta, does that make sense to you when we're talking about evolutionary biology?
Yeah. No, because all that she's doing, she's just doing it to deny the basic fact that humans are evolved animals. She don't want to accept that. So all she's doing, she's just trying to deny that fact. But you
She
know,
says she's intellectual and she's not mixing nothing up. She's just intellectual.
yeah,
And
no,
she says, I don't know how we're wrong though. What does base mean? Like, wow, hate your true origin. My true origin is that I am a descendant of Africa. That deals with genetics. When you're talking about your origin, you're talking about genetics. Like, what ancestor you know uh, that is come from outer space? What ancestor you know? Are you alien, sister? We are talking about genetic makeup. We're talking about DNA sequencing. We are talking about, we're not talking about the building blocks of life. Your
and,
ancestor
and
comes
if
from
they,
Africa. Your ancestor,
even if
Africa.
you are though, Sean, I think Corey touched on the point too. If she want to make the argument that everything is carbon, then you can also make the argument that everything is hydrogen because, like, it's hydrogen is the basis of molecule. Everything comes from hydrogen because that's the first element. Everything
Mhm.
else, even carbon, comes from hydrogen because it's the stars that makes the element. What it does, the stars are made of hydrogen. They fuse hydrogen into helium, and then from that they make all the other elements. So if you want to make the argument that everything is carbon, then we can go back to the very minutest one, and it's going to be hydrogen. So
All
she
right.
still
So
don't
okay? So what's the first element on the chart again? We all know it's hydrogen.
hydrogen.
What you
Yeah,
just
that's
said.
the basis one.
Every other element builds off of what?
Hydrogen. Everything comes from hydrogen.
Okay. So we're not dismissing carbon at all. But
But
the very first element on the periodical chart is hydrogen, right? And we all know, we all took science class, we all sat there and we dealt with carbon and we drew our little circles and H's. We all did that and we counted how many, uh, other elements of, oxygen and hydrogen was around. We did all of that. It was a fun experiment. We're not dismissing any of that. We're not making any claim to that. We're talking about genetics. Genetics. What ego? Okay, she said that ego got y'all lying. What ego? What issue are we actually having? We're talking about genetics. When people bring up DNA, they're referring. All right, never mind.
no, she's bringing up DNA because she want to say no, we didn't evolve from our ape-like ancestors. We came from DNA, so we don't need to. But
Okay, so
it's
hold on. Stop. All right, so let's just go back when let's talk about evolution a little bit, right? It's called your inner fish. Okay. Now I don't want to spend all day on this because we get ready to do the vaccine thing with those doctors.
yeah, it's fine.
But if we go back 3.5 billion years ago, right? You're dealing with your inner fish. Period. Point blank. Okay, there's a great book. It's called You're in a Fish. Sour, everybody's recommended this book. A sour unk, everybody. All right. Um, we all should, read it one day. Get a proper understanding why people want to argue against it. Get a proper understanding of why people say what it say. Get a proper understanding of its bone structures and all of those things, and deal with it like that. But hold on, wholeheartedly, yeah. Let's stop. Wholeheartedly, this is useless in going back and forth over this thing. Never use DNA or genes to prove a thing when you know. Okay, you use DNA to
Yeah,
prove genetics. Okay, so when somebody kills somebody, they don't use carbon. What do they use?
the DNA,
All right. So when you go do a paternity test, what do you use?
DNA.
Okay. So DNA is used to, for ancestry. DNA is also, to deal with, all this other stuff. Listen, I'm not trying to get away and say that, we ain't made up of no carbon and all these other elements. That's not what I'm saying. That's
It's
not
not
what other people
relevant, bro.
say. It's not relevant at all. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're dealing with DNA. When DNA is in the process of being in an evolutionary argument, it goes back to genetics. If it's not dealing with genetics, it's dealing with it's dealing with genetics. So that's what I'm saying. That whole argument is, if you're trying to dismiss DNA to say no, you come from carbon, well, show me where we need to rewrite history and not use DNA at all. If there's an issue with DNA, because DNA ain't doing nothing but helping us deal with, when we're using it in our conversations, we're talking about genetics or genealogy.
She,
I guess it's an ego game. So y'all bring on a white scientist so I can share facts with someone who studies science. Well, we study science too, True Secret, and we deal with
who's the
science.
white
We don't
scientist?
care what color. We don't care. We don't care who. We don't care what color the scientist is. We use science. So in order to prove something, you have to use the scientific method to prove something.
Who's the
There
white
should be
scientist, though?
there should be no issue with DNA. Look, she keeps saying, sister, why do you keep on saying what is DNA? That's the core issue here has to deal with genetics. If somebody's telling you DNA, Malcolm, go ahead, bro.
No, I'm laughing, man. Go ahead. I'm listening to you. I just want to laugh when you see that.
Yeah, I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not dismissing. We're not. All right. So how am I gonna prove that who my ancestors are? I'm just gonna do it off carbon. Carbon is my oldest ancestor. You satisfied if we say that? Carbon is my oldest ancestor. I evolved from carbon. Are you okay with that? I evolved from carbon. Come on, you ain't got to throw ad hominem, calling people slow. You're doing all of that. I'm asking.
Hey, Shawn, she's actually doing the same thing Pastor Bennett was doing earlier on today. It basically don't like the fact that evolution is science. And so he's going back into the past and bringing up the fact that the scientists were racist just to deny. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I just don't feel like I don't understand why there's an issue with evolution. And you asking for evidence. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna show you something real quick. Let me get these stats out. I don't even know why I waste my time. I don't even really get into all of that. I'm 2021. I ain't even trying to argue with craziness. You know what I'm saying? I'm just all about dealing with real information and moving on. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and now next thing you know, we need to be saying that we carbon people. I'm an African American with African ancestry.
African
I have ancestors that evolved on the continent of Africa. There are 5 stages of my ancestors and yours, and even you can say what, and even white people. All human beings evolved from a common ancestor.
all apes.
All apes, great apes, all listen, all that. We ain't got no problem with that. So hold on. Let me see if I can find this little video really quick. I found it.
This she mentioned in DNA. I mean, it's deoxyribonucleic acid. So even if you bring up the DNA argument, you have to consider all the components of the DNA. And then she also mentioned about proteins. Proteins have the carboxyl group in it. It's attached to 2 oxygen and 1 hydrogen. So it's a COOH, and also a nitrogen group. So it's not like it's isolated carbon or anything like that. So carbon is a bonding agent, and the reason why it's so special, and the reason why it's such a bonding agent, is because atoms have what they call valence shells, and that's the area where electrons circulate the center, circulate the atom. So many can fit in each valence shell. For example, with any atom, the maximum valence shell atom electrons that can circulate the first valence shell is 2, and then it goes from 2 to 8, and then it goes from 8 to 18, I think, either 10 or 18. But carbon has 6 atoms, so you have 2 in the first valence shell. So the first valence shell is full. When you go to the second valence shell, you have the remaining 4. So you can have a total of 4 more to fill up that valence shell. And because it has that extra space for 4 more atoms, it makes the perfect binding or glue agent. And that's it. It's not like it's some element that just sucks in light. I mean, that's not. I think I know where you're coming from, man.
You confused me though. You see what I'm saying? But let me hit this real quick for y'all real quick. Let me do this real quick. All right, let's look at evolution in 3 minutes. I ain't gonna play the sound. Just let it go like that. Here's how humans evolved from first life. Carbon.
Are you an African carbon or American carbon?
Man, I don't know what kind of carbon. Whatever she said. Too much carbon dioxide can do what?
Kill you.
But I thought I was carbon though.
Right. Put that carbon dioxide in your blood if you want to. It's gonna be clear around this junk.
I mean, if you trying to seek the truth, and you trying to get to a particular point, and you trying to dismiss evolution, you just not gonna get to the truth. If you trying to skip over all that and say, you know what I'm saying, you come from that, what makes people different from each other? You see what I'm saying? So you're dealing with phenotypes, and you know, you gotta get back to well, hold on, let me not do that. Let's just say this, scratch that. You gotta deal with the basics. You gotta deal with the basics. And the basis of it all is that genetically we are all living organisms pretty much, like I said earlier, they all are interrelated. All living organisms are interrelated. And, you know, so I guess before we even get to that, look, 160 million years ago, now they finna go up in the tree. They go up in the tree. They gonna stay up in the tree. See what I'm saying? I'm walking through. There you go. You're in the tree. You're cooling it in the tree. You're going through a phase. You come down from the tree. Then you're upright. Still ain't you. And with them hominids, they running them down. You knew it?
It's a cold video there.
Yep. But like, you know, she said, look at you. Okay, that's look at you, right? Well, I just showed a video earlier of my brother Ben being in South Africa dealing with um, going in a cave 200 feet. He was in a cave, down there in the cave. Now, Ben couldn't go in a small hole where the other scientists go. That's when they get to talking about the size of the people that can fit in the hole to go lower because he was too big. The hole where they go and they do more research and things of that nature, women, our frail women can fit down in there and get down in there. Like Ben's wife, I'm not saying that she's frail, but she's smaller in stature and she can fit through and go. Her kids can fit through and go, but the hole ain't wide enough because if they made it wide enough for people to go down in there like that, the structure of the cave would be at fault. But they go down in that hole and they going down in there and they looking for more research. That's not lookership. When we go to the cradle of humankind, that's not lookership. It presents all 5 stages of the hominids. If we need to show what they look like, we can show you what they look like. We can pull up Lucy. Let me see. Leviticus. Let's deal with it. I'll probably be watching the movie with my son. He on the game. Let's see if we can get her. Let's see if we can get what's your boy name? Obama. Obama went to go see Lucy. Obama went to go see Lucy. Let me put her on the screen. She said she wants some evidence. Show me that evidence of you being a carbon girl. It sound cute. It sound, you know what I'm saying? It sound new age. It sound cool, don't it? I'm carbon. I'm carbon. There you go. There you go right there.
So
There go Lucy. Off the Connecticut. Right there. Right? Look at them bones right there. Now go get you an x-ray. Go get you an x-ray and max it up. Let me see if I can do one a little bit better.
Sugar is a carbohydrate, sweetheart.
Let's see if we can find all the phosphorus. Man, I don't want that. Yeah, you back on Mal, how long you got before you take the shot, bro?
CDC recommended 3 months, but I proposed around March, although I kind of want to jump in a little earlier than that.
Will they let you?
You know what? I don't know, but I'm gonna definitely ask.
All right, so on the screen you can see the comparisons of the pelvis and the foot bones. Right here. Right? You got the chimpanzee, you get Leviticus, which we just showed you, and then you got Homo sapiens sapiens. Do you see this? And they all gonna have, you know what I'm saying? Their spine gonna test that vertebrae. Now I don't know what else to actually like tell you, but I don't think that there should be any problem with. I'm just pulling this up for a picture, but I don't think that there should be any problem with this image. At all. I don't think that there should be a problem at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you got one, it's personal. Good luck. Good luck. This what you want. You want to see. You want to see him. You want to see us in there like that right there, right? That's what you want to see. You want to see us on the dig like that right there, right? They're in Morocco right now, where they found the oldest 300,000 years ago. Morocco, right there. You want us on the site? She said 666 equals 9, and 9 is sacred.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
numerology. They go that pseudoscience.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna add.
I knew it. I knew it. I just was waiting on her to say it. She wouldn't say it. She wouldn't say it till she got in the chat. She wouldn't say it till she got in the chat. Oh my. Let's see. Let's see what the basics of numerology, and then I'm gonna get off, yo, because we're getting ready to prep to go. I got about 15 more minutes, and then we're gonna kick on over to Facebook Live. So the lack of evidence for numerology. Look, skeptics argue that numbers have no occultic significance, cannot be by themselves influence a person's life. Skeptics therefore regard numerology as a superstition and a pseudoscience that uses numbers to give subject like scientific authority. So numerology, really?
Oh, hit us with,
Sacred.
oh, hit us with 6 times 3 equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Oh, no, we ain't doing that, sis. I love you, sis, but no.
The term numerologist can be used for those who place faith in numerical patterns and draw pseudoscientific inferences from them, even if those people do not practice traditional numerology. That ain't science, sis. That's not real science. I'm rocking with you just a little bit. I'm rocking with you just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because we all know that we all know what carbon is and its fun and its relevance in the whole argument. But when you say stuff like this, like same people calling me dumb have no idea what DNA and genes are. You see what I'm saying? We can all be familiar with it. So how many months is a woman pregnant? Was that 9? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm don't disrespect numerology. I ain't saying it's facts. I'm disrespecting numerology because my ancestors wasn't teaching that. That's not a part of my culture. So to hell with numerology. What you talking about come for you? You saying some crazy stuff, like, sacred stuff. Now, yeah, that's you're right. You just exposed when I say your youth is mental. So mentally you're young into coming into consciousness because you're using things like sacred 9 and carbon and all of that. So yeah, it's some confusion. So look, on the more positive things, she ain't talking about nothing. Evolution is it. Evolution still stands. She didn't do nothing to refute evolution. She can't do anything. She has a problem with people saying, using DNA and then saying what DNA comes from carbon. You know what I'm saying? That's her thing. So it's kind of like a what's it called? What kind of fallacy? Well, I don't even want to get into all of that, but I don't want to deal with that. So here, tonight, Facebook Live. We will be going in with 3 doctors. We're going to have some questions. We're going to have some answers. We're going to build on the information. We're going to see if this vaccine is for the Black community or not for the Black community. We'll see if we can get into some of the myths and things like that. We'll try to deal with all of that. Also, People are sharing an article right now about somewhere in the UK. Hold on, let me be specific. Let me be specific.
You talking about the nurse?
So they say 23 people died in Norway after receiving the Pfizer vaccine, officials say. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this right here. This is from the New York Post. It was published today. 23 people died in Norway, days after receiving their first dose of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, with 13 of those deaths all nursing home patients, apparently related to side effects of the shots, health officials said. Common reactions to vaccines, including fever and nausea, may have contributed to a fatal outcome in some frail patients. I'm going to repeat that again. May have contributed to a fatal outcome in some frail patients. Okay? Now, this is currently under investigation. They're doing more research. There's no conclusion. Today, I posted an article about people dying in a nursing home in Alabama. And guess what? That's off the shelf. That's still off the shelf. People sharing it. I don't care. Listen, this is what I'm in America. I'm not in Brazil. I'm not in India. I'm not in Indonesia. I'm not in Turkey. I'm not in China, Japan, Korea, any of them European countries. I ain't in Saudi Arabia. I ain't in Canada. I ain't in Mexico. I ain't in South America. Now, we might have some cousins, some relatives in South America. I ain't over there. I'm in America. And right now, 11 million, 12 million vaccinated in America, 29 allergic reactions. They're vaccinating people 65 and above where I am, 75 and above in other areas. In some other areas, they're still doing 65 and above like we are. Everybody got different limits for their phase 1 rollouts for the vaccines. 20 people in a nursing home, frail people in a nursing home, had a reaction, they transitioned. Supposedly. Now that's under investigation. What does that have to do with the vaccine? Hey, we don't know yet till they tell us what happened. But if you telling me between us and the UK, you got almost 30 million people vaccinated or 20 something million people vaccinated, and you telling me you only got 13 deaths? So 1 in 1 million, 1 in every million or whatever, however you want to do the math on that. If we just want to say 13 million people vaccinated between the two, and 13 people died, that's 1 in a million. Right? 1 in a million died from a reaction to a vaccine, right? Let's just use that math. 1 in a million died from a vaccine. But there's almost 4,000 people dying a day from COVID. 1 in a million died from the COVID vaccine that's been distributed since December. And for almost 4,000 people are dying a day from COVID. So you saying just catching COVID, 4,000 people dying. People had a response. 13 people out of 13 million, when we know it's more than 13 million, but I'm just trying to get the math right here so I can see what's going on. So 13 million people vaccinated. Let me get it right. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. It's gonna leave me with America. I don't want to deal with America. How many people vaccinated in the UK? Let's deal with that. There go the answer. More than 35 million shots given. More than 35 million shots given in the world. All right, so here go our chart. I don't know if y'all can read that or not, but that's pretty much the population. And then there go your number. We're dealing with people with there. Right now with Israel, like I said, leading everybody as far as how many people have been vaccinated. But we know that there's 35 plus million, and it can be more, that are vaccinated. And you're telling me out of 35 million people vaccinated, that you have 13 elderly people in a nursing home had a reaction and transition. They could have transitioned from anything. They could have had COVID before they even got the vaccine, similar to what happened in Alabama. And this rolled out, and people was using this. You know what I'm saying? And I had to bring this back to like fact check. Alabama, not the Alabama nurse. My bad. I already dealt with that. What my source said. Hold on, y'all. I don't want y'all to see my secret where I go get all my sources. Malcolm on here. Peace to brother Jehudi. Peace, bro Jehudi. Yeah, we need you, bro. Come on with that, come on. Hold on, y'all. While I'm doing this though, y'all ain't got nothing to say, man. Y'all got quiet on me, man. Y'all getting quiet for?
I'm gonna hop out, man. Why did you walk in? But I'm looking forward to the chill talk joint though.
Okay, yeah. Peace. Yeah. I'm about to switch over there because we gotta prepare, because we got this whole little thing that we got going on to make sure we organize the facts. All right, I'll catch you later, Mal. All right, here we go. I'm moving on. All right, so COVID-19 outbreak. It's on the 12th. Here we go. Outbreak, not vaccine to blame for deaths at a nursing home. So this is what I'm saying. Like we need to wait and we need to see what happened in over there, and because we not from over there. We talking about what happened somewhere that we ain't even associated with. So let's deal with where we at. All right, War Eagle. Now, a viral social media post and an article published on an obscure website falsely suggests that there may be a link between the timing of COVID-19 vaccinations and deaths at Auburn nursing home. The post referred to reporting about COVID-19 outbreak at the Commons on St. Anthony in Auburn. More than 180 employees and residents at the facility have tested positive for the virus. At least 28 residents have died after testing positive for COVID-19. 28. Let's deal with what we got on our hands. The authors of the post, which the citizen isn't disclosing for prevent the spread of false and misleading information, raised the possibility that there is a connection between the deaths and administering of the COVID-19 vaccine at a nursing home. However, there are key facts omitted from the claims. The Commons, which is operated by Loretta, began vaccinating employees December 22nd. Before the vaccination clinic, the nursing home already had a COVID-19 outbreak. Julie Sheeter, a Loretta spokesman, told the citizen that their outbreak began in December after Thanksgiving. Given the incubation period that we know for the virus, our facility was affected before vaccines were able to be administered. Shetty wrote in an email, "We certainly wish the vaccines had been available sooner to help prevent the devastation caused by the virus." Now, Shetty criticized the dangerous speculation and factually incorrect claims made of the purported medical website. She added that Loretta hopes that the community knows not to trust unverified information, whether on the web, social media, or heard in person. More than 80% of the nursing home residents, nearly 200 people, received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine on the 22nd. The second dose will be administered on clinic on Tuesday, right? So this was the 12th, and it looks like this coming Tuesday, they're going to get their second dose. So the first dose will be administered who didn't receive the initial inoculation in December. Nearly half of the facility's employees received the first dose of the vaccine last month. The remaining employees will receive their first dose of the second vaccination clinic. Shetty said the approach is according with the federal CDC and prevention guidelines, which recommends not vaccinating all employees on the same day in the case they experience side effects. The CDC released facts about the COVID-19 vaccine, which also debunked claims suggesting that there is no connection between the vaccines and the deaths of the Commons. One of the first questions answered by the agency is, can a COVID-19 vaccine make me sick with COVID-19? The answer is no, because as the CDC explains, none of the vaccines that have been approved or are in development contain a live virus that contains COVID-19. The mRNA vaccine they got does not contain the virus. This means the COVID-19 vaccine may make you sick, COVID-19, the CDC said. Both of the approved vaccine manufacturer, Moderna and Pfizer, requires 2 doses. While it's unknown how many residents at the Commons who died of COVID-19 received their first dose, they did not get their second. That means it's possible that the person could be infected with the virus that causes COVID-19 just before or just after vaccination and still get sick. This is because the vaccine has not had enough time to provide protection. We know it takes at least 10 days to gain some sort of protection. All right, so this is coming directly from Cayuga County. If you're familiar with Cayuga County, that is in Alabama, and that is the home of the War Eagles. So I could have went to a fact checker, but no, I went to a local newspaper in the area to deal with it called the auburnpub.com. Straight up. All right, so that's that on that. Y'all still in there messing with that? I'm done responding to so since it's from all right. Everybody on Facebook, in approximately 1 hour, we're going to be with Brother Chill Hurd. Brother Chill Hurd on Chill Talk. Brother Chill Hurd, Chill Talk. Yep. Yep. Man, y'all get ready for an immaculate show, man. We're going to be kicking it with that. I ain't even want to be on here this long, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't want to deal with none of that. I know my screen's still sharing, but that's all good. I'm just letting y'all see. Let me go ahead and get this thing pulled up. And let me stop right there. And I'm going to say, man, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend. We at it again. We appreciate everybody getting in. You're going to have to take the vaccine if you want to travel. Daryl Blue, that's not true. Depends. Some countries may want you to take the vaccine to travel to their countries. That's true. That's a high. I wouldn't say that's true. It's a high probability. I will say, in order for you to get on a plane to go from where you at, Daryl, to another state, they're going to want you to take a COVID test. Airlines will require you to take a COVID test, and you must test negative, which means you're going to have to go down there to the little clinic around the corner, get your nose swab, get your results before you board the plane. That's just that on that. Truth seeker, you just shooting yourself in the foot. Chill out for a little while. You talking too much. It ain't even that serious. What you saying is really not that serious. You know, it's no groundbreaking information, and you not smarter than the next person, and this, that, and the third. You're actually messing the science up. So just chill out. Daryl Blue is not. There's no evidence stating that you have to be vaccinated before you can fly. They are saying that you have to test negative. Jamal said he'd rather take a boat. No, Daryl. The card is to show that you took the vaccine. It has nothing to do with that right now, bro. That's speculation. There's no law passed. There's nothing saying that you gotta have that. It could be a requirement for you to travel outside of the country. That's a fact. Like right now, people coming from the UK, they gotta be screened and they gotta test. How y'all still scared of the vax? It's not even, I don't think that people are scared of the vax. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Daryl might be, I don't know. I don't know his true position. I know Daryl sometimes he be kind of on the fence, but he got his mask on, which is a good thing. Daryl traveled with that mask, but I don't think that he said, bet whatever that's gonna happen. Bet, I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet because I already heard the airlines come out and say, no, I haven't. I wish. I'm not a frontliner. My state's doing 65 and older. They're doing 65 and older, and I got a friend that's getting their shot soon too. Yep, they in line to get their shot on Monday. So that's gonna be cool too. Plus, y'all know CK had hers. So real quick, hold up. Let me see something. I don't want to be on chill panel and the doctors can't say my name. 0.16% of U.S. population has died from COVID-19. Daryl, do you know what? Hold on. That's a bad argument to actually have, Daryl, because it's almost 400,000 COVID deaths in America. There's 400,000 COVID deaths as of right now. $400,000 deaths. $400,000 deaths. Think about that. 400,000, bro. It's 2 million worldwide. We talking about 0.16%. That's a lot of people, bro. That's more people than some of these cities. Right now, Sutek, we looking at 0 until further notice. But if we want to go ahead and get a Norwegian people, 13 deaths, we can say 13 deaths out of dang near 34 million vaccinated. There's only 13 reported deaths. If we want to give them that, then keep calling my work phone. 34 million vaccinated and supposedly 13 deaths that are under investigation. But in America, there's like 12 million vaccinated and 1 death under investigation. But that brother had ITP, which is an immune disease, because his immune system was fighting itself. Yeah, now I like what you said, Daryl. How many people survived? A lot of people have survived COVID-19. But here's the thing, there's this term, it's called, put it in the chat, long COVID. Not long COVID, long-term COVID. Now, the reason, none of them was black, LJ. Miss Crump, none of them was black at that nursing home in Norwegian. They're Norwegian people. They ain't got nothing to do with us. Daryl, out of people that have recovered, they are still showing signs. My best friend who had COVID last year still got breathing issues. Old boy that got COVID and playing basketball, that fell out on the basketball court at the University of Florida. His heart, COVID related. People cramping playing sports and couldn't even play the whole game, like your boy Lamar. He couldn't play the whole game, had to come out and get an IV. He was dehydrated. What you think causing some of them symptoms? They're showing symptoms of long-term COVID from the infection. And I'm talking about people that are asymptomatic, receiving these mild little things from it. The impact is still lingering in their bodies, yo. You're talking about your lungs, your kidneys, your heart, your liver, your intestines, your eyes, your brain. So there's still a lot that we're learning about this. Let me get this link sent to Unc, because he gonna say I ain't saying him nothing. Corey, you ain't even on Facebook, bro. You about to miss it. You about to miss it, dog. You better get on somebody you better get on somebody's Facebook page. We about to go in, Corey. You tripping. Have you well. All right, let me text Unc. I sent you the link. You know it? So yeah, man, what else? Shawn, there's 382 million people in the USA. Well, I ain't saying nothing about 300 million people in the US. The fact is, the people that are in the USA, bro, are getting side effects. They are lingering side effects from contracting COVID-19. You know it. Yeah. So you know, that's just thing. That's the reality of it. You know what I'm saying? There's 93 cases worldwide, 51 million recovered, 2 million deaths. That's the numbers right now. Let me put it on the screen. I mean, I like what you're saying, but 400,000 deaths could have been prevented with a vaccine. 93.3 million cases, 51.5 million recovered, 2 million deaths. Ask yourself, had we not had the technology that we had today, would it been like the 1918 flu pandemic? It easily could have been that without the technology that we had and the communicative efforts that we had. If we were living back in those times and this thing took place, we would see similar deaths like that, like it was in America. It'll be way more deaths. What I'm saying is, man, if not a vaccine, then what? Because you got people that are getting reinfected with COVID. They're not developing any antibodies. There's no immunity being had right now. But yeah, man. So look, let me try to find it for y'all. Let me get into my page. I'm broke my doctor, so for me, I don't need to do a doctor. Man, my nephew looking just like his mama right now. Can't tell my brother that. Sit around. You know it? This is where we're gonna be at right here. Hey, stick to my I ain't worried about your mouth, bro. I'm worried about my mouth. 4,000 people die a day. Yeah, that new study, Robert ran. I read that study where COVID is reducing people's livelihood by 1.13 years. I read that analysis. Yep, that was a good little read. And yes, Elder P. Elder P is on it. 25, let's say 30 years, Elder P. We got a source from scientists to tell us 30 years. We got a source from science to tell us 30 years. So the check going in today. Daryl, appreciate you, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know you be on both sides. Well, not really on both sides like that, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you know, you be abreast of certain things, but then when you have contentions, you have contentions. So I put the link for Chill Talk in the chat. This is where we're gonna be at. And Corey, you might be able to watch that even if you don't have a Facebook. But let me see what Chill says. Test for COVID vax show. Let's see what Brother Chill talking about. Yo, they gonna keep calling my phone, yo.
Everybody, we're doing a test. Let me share this to make sure that we're ready for this evening's show. Let me share it to my other page. Second.
I ain't talking about nothing.
I have backup just in case I have glitches, but now I'm trying to share it. Okay, there we are on my page. Okay, but it's locked. Hold on, let's see. See, that's part of the problem the other day. All right. I don't want it to be locked. I need it to be public.
Look at all the messages I get. No sense.
All right, everybody, bear with me. Everybody on the Chill Talk page should be seeing it. We need to get it going on. Edit audience. Let's see. Public. Wow. Okay, there we go. It is public. And let me see if I can test it. Okay, let me. All right, now. Ace Epps say just was listening to MC story, steal my joint. Way to go. Way to go, Ace. That's my joint too. Man, that's my favorite song. Out of all my songs, MC story is definitely my favorite of my songs. I put lyrically, I put my heart in that one. Hey, Ace, if you're still on there, bro, let me know if you can hear me, first of all. And let me know if you, and anybody out there, let me know if you can hear me. And are you watching this on the Chill Talk page or on the Kevin Chill Her page? All right. Let me get some things together. All right, he can hear me. All right, Ace. Now, the other question is, are you watching me on okay, you're on the Chill Talk page. Okay, cool. All right, so if anybody's out there, if anybody can hear me on the Kevin Chill Heard page.
All right, so Chill just getting it ready, man.
Let me.
This is let's Chill Talk Live. This is where we gonna be. Make sure you hear, man. We getting ready to run rampant on this right here. That's where we gonna be. So Corey, that's where it's gonna come from. We're gonna be on Facebook on Chill Talk. And I think Chill might have it on his YouTube page too. I haven't really talked to him about that. But let's see if let me see. I know it. Switch my account. I'm looking for his page. Kevin MC Chill Heard. I don't think he gonna have it on here, but I know eventually he will post it. And I'm gonna put that in here right there. Hey man, listen, it's 46 people watching this, yo. Like the show, share the show. Get ready for Chill Talk. You know what I'm saying? With your boy, Shawn P, Unc West. Yep. Kevin Chill Heard, and 3 medical doctors. 3 MDs. Let me tell y'all who they are. Let's just run it down real quick. Since we're having a little fun, we're going to have Dr. Lalika Dunque, Dr. Bonita Ko, Dr. Lynn Milliner. All right. Now, one is in DC, one is in Maryland, and one is in Cleveland. All right. Dr. Dunqua, I got to pronounce her name right, deals with infectious disease. She's a infectious disease specialist. Dr. Ko deals with human biology. And Dr. Milliner is a medical director for the Cleveland Department of Public Health. Straight like that. Hey, you ain't gotta have Facebook, bro. You ain't gotta have Facebook. Click that link. You ain't even got to sign into Facebook, bro. Click the link. You're gonna be able to see it. Ask your questions. We answering them. Ask your questions. We answering them. Pick them up, knock them down. I see you, Corey. Yeah. See, Corey can get in. He ain't got a Facebook. It's going to be live. So what I'm going to end up doing, and, I'm going to try to run this stream right here. I'm going to try to run this stream right here until it begins. Because if I get off now, y'all going to have to be refreshing that little link or the like page and then wait for the live stream to populate. When I can just put the link right there, y'all can click on the link and be right in the discussion. Now, you won't be able to comment or ask questions because you ain't got no Facebook, but you will be able to watch it. Pure Black ain't playing. Look at him. Facebook is how you stay connected with people who you don't want to have in your phone number. Yeah, man. Real quick though, I mean, I like what we was doing today. I mean, I really didn't have any true contentious problems with everything. I just think that naturally we just got to put things in order, because when we start letting people run amok with us, we really don't know what's going on. Like we really don't know what's going on. And people can say and do anything at that point, and they can make all kind of assertions to all kind of information, and that shouldn't be what it should be. Like we all should be able to deal with what we need to deal with. But what I'm gonna do is, while we wait, is I'm gonna give y'all some work. I got your back. You ain't got to worry about nothing. Shawn is here. I'm in the building. Let me give y'all some of this work. And because since we usually do it and we got to deal with what we got to deal with, we gonna do it right here. I'm gonna give y'all a few minutes of this, and then when it's time to rock and roll, we're gonna transition.
Particularly important for SARS-CoV-2, as we have learned in the past year. The infectious cycle means everything that happens in a virus-infected cell, from attachment and entry to the production of new virus particles. That's the infectious cycle. Sometimes it's called the reproduction cycle. Same thing, synonymous. And we virologists divide this into steps just to make it easier to study them or highlight them. So we talk about attachment and entry of viruses to receptors. We talk about macromolecular processes like translation and genome replication, and assembly and release, right? And we actually have lectures in this course that are based on these divisions. We have an attachment and entry lecture and so forth. And the purpose of dividing it is, as I said, so we can study them. And this is this is a replication cycle of a very specific virus. And you can see it's happening all in the cytoplasm, but many viruses are also in the nucleus as well, as you will learn throughout this course. So that's the infectious cycle. And before we go any further, I need to define some terms, because the terms I use are often different from the rest of the world. And since you're in a virology course, you need to know them. So here, susceptible cell. When I talk about a susceptible cell, what I mean is that the cell has a receptor for a virus. all right, the cell may not be able to actually reproduce the virus. Susceptibility only implies attachment. So this has to do with the cell. Obviously, an animal, a person, or some other host for a virus, we call them susceptible to infection. It's different. We don't mean receptors in an animal. This is at the single cell level, all right? So susceptible has a functional receptor. And so the two pictures at the top right show you susceptible cells. On the left, the virus is attaching and to that cell, and it's also replicating, which is a separate definition. But on the right, here's a cell where the virus attaches and may even get in, but it doesn't reproduce. They're both susceptible because they have receptors, okay? A resistant cell has no receptor. And here are some resistant cells. The receptor is not on the surface. It's very small here, but there's a little colored box there under the virus. There's no receptor on the second two cells. Doesn't matter if these are able to support replication or not, the virus could never get in. And then we have permissive cell. This is a cell that has the capacity to replicate a virus. It may or may not be susceptible. It may or may not have receptors for the virus. So here are two permissive cells, the third row of cells. The one on the right has a receptor. It's also susceptible, so the virus can bind and get in and reproduce. The one on the left doesn't have a receptor. So you may ask, how can the virus reproduce in it? Well, the only way it will is if you artificially introduce nucleic acid in the laboratory into the cell. You bypass the receptor. When you put nucleic acid into cells, a process we call transfection, that bypasses the need for a receptor, and then you can tell if the internal environment of a cell is permissive for virus replication. So susceptible and permissive are two key definitions. And I tell you, most virologists don't even use them properly. And the only reason I do is because 20 years ago, I wrote a textbook and I had to make it clear what we were talking about. But they're important definitions. And finally, a susceptible and permissive cell is the only one that can both take up a virus, the virus can bind to it, and the virus can get into cells and replicate it. All right, so really important definitions. And we're going to use them a lot. And the whole idea of receptors and entry and permissivity, we're going to cover in great detail in this course. Now, remember, Monday, we talked about virus discovery in the late 1800s, early 1900s. For years, we couldn't grow viruses in cells in culture because we didn't know how to do cell culture in the laboratory. That didn't come out until 40s and 50s, actually. We'll talk a little bit about that today, but we had to use animals of various sorts, like chickens and ferrets and rabbits and non-human primates, etc., rodents, dogs, cats, whatever people could get their virus to grow in. And they would make stocks of viruses in animals. For example, poliovirus, for many years after its discovery in 1908, people made stocks of the virus by inoculating non-human primates. As soon as they got paralyzed, they'd remove the brain and spinal cord, grind it up, and they froze it, and that was their stocks. Actually, they didn't freeze it because there were no freezers. So what would they do? They would inoculate another animal. And they kept doing that to maintain the stocks of viruses. Can you imagine? Freezers came about much later. And that actually was bad because if you keep passing a virus in what is not its normal host, you can select for variants. You could also use plants or insects, whatever the host of the virus were. You would bake your stocks in them. And for many years, there was no cell culture. But eventually we learned how to make cell cultures. Now, an interesting development in the 30s was that you could infect eggs with some viruses, embryonated eggs, of course. If there's no embryo in the egg, good luck getting your virus to replicate in the yolk and the white of the egg. But here's an embryonated chicken egg. It has a tiny embryo. This is about 12 to 13 days after fertilization. And the egg, of course, has a variety of different compartments with fluids. The fluid right around the embryo there is the amniotic fluid, and it's the amniotic cavity. There's the allantoic cavity, the blue, which has got allantoic fluid in it. And there are various membranes. And when you inoculate viruses, they can grow in different kinds of cells. And you can see the needles here. We're putting viruses into different parts of the egg. I have had a lot of experience with allantoic inoculation. because you can grow influenza viruses, and we still do that to this day. And in fact, many of the vaccines, influenza vaccines, are grown in eggs to this day because you can make a lot. You can get a lot of eggs, and it's easy to do it. I'm going to show you on a slide, I believe. We use almost 150, 200 million eggs a year growing flu vaccines. One shot, you go get a flu vaccine. If it was grown in eggs, it's usually one egg's worth of virus. You get about 10 mLs of allantoic fluid, so you can inoculate your virus. And to do that, you have to drill a hole in the shell, of course. You put a needle in, and you get very good at being able to put the needle in the right place. And then the virus grows, and then you harvest the fluid. So here's how many of today's flu vaccines are actually grown in eggs, chicken eggs, embryonated chicken eggs, huge numbers, as I said. And there are machines that drill holes in the eggs. Here's the top of the egg. So if you remember, the top of the egg has an air sac. So you drill a hole there, and that way when you inject fluid, it doesn't come right back out at you, right? Because the air sac gives you a little play there. And so here's an automated injector putting virus. And so these eggs on racks go through machines that drill holes, and they inject virus, and then the hole is sealed with a little wax, and it's put in an incubator. Look at this, racks and racks of eggs. And many other viruses could be grown in eggs for years. Nowadays, only influenza virus is grown in eggs. But the whole topic of today, studying this infectious cycle, wasn't possible before 1949, at least for animal viruses. And that's the year when 3 scientists, Enders, Weller, and Robbins, figured out that you could grow poliovirus in cells in culture. And they used primary cultures of human embryonic tissues. They would take the cells and put them in culture, make monolayers of them. We'll see how that works in a moment. And they found that you could grow poliovirus in them. And they got the Nobel Prize for this in 1954. It was a huge discovery. John Enders here, cover of Time magazine. Medicine gains on viruses. I think this is 1960 something. So this was a landmark discovery. And after that point, everyone started using cell cultures to study their viruses, and we stopped passing viruses in animals. And today we use very specific kinds of cell cultures. We have primary cell cultures, and these are human foreskin fibroblasts. And you may ask, why foreskin fibroblasts? Well, you can go to any hospital, and any given day, someone's going to be born and you can get foreskins because they're thrown away. Otherwise, you can take them and bring them back to your lab. You mince them up and you trypsinize them to make single cells, and the cells will attach to a plastic monolayer. You feed them with medium and they will grow. Not forever, but long enough to do some virus experiments. Then we have cell lines. Cell lines are immortal. They grow forever. Like this mouse fibroblast cell line, a famous one called 3T3. We have the HeLa cell line, a human epithelial cell line, which is immortal. These are called continuous cell lines. Now, they're great because they grow forever. You can put them in the freezer and go back to them and get more of them. We have had HeLa cells in my lab since the 80s when I started my lab. And they're great, but they're weird. They're abnormal. They have the wrong number of chromosomes, and they have multiple copies of chromosomes. They're not right in any way. So it's a trade-off. And today we try and use other types of cultures, as you'll see in a moment, when we want to get closer to where the virus actually reproduces. So the HeLa cells were derived from a cervical cancer, right? And we use them for all kinds of viruses. I use them for poliovirus, but poliovirus does not reproduce in the cervix of humans. So it's an abnormal cell for the virus. So you can only do so much in them. And you cannot grow vaccines in these cell lines because they actually, if injected into an animal, they can cause a tumor because they're transformed. And we'll talk about that in a separate lecture. So you have to use other kinds of cell lines. You either use primary cells to grow vaccines, not foreskin cells. You'd be needing a lot of foreskins to make vaccines, but you can use monkey kidney cells or other sorts of primary cells, or you can use cell strains. These are cells that grow for longer than primary cells. So a primary cell line will grow for maybe 30 divisions and it dies and you have to start again. And these diploid strains can go up to 100 or more, and they're not transformed, they're not immortal, so you can grow vaccines in them. So in our lab, we grow lots of cells, and we grow them on plastic surfaces in dishes, like on the right here, these are 6-centimeter dishes. In the back, 10-centimeter. We have flasks also we can grow them in, or 6 well plates, all different conformations, depending on what you want to do. But these are all cases where the cells are sticking to the plastic. Sometimes you want to grow huge quantities of cells, and we do that in what we call a spinner, and that's on the right here. And that's very few cell lines will grow in suspension, but this one is HeLa cells. They happen to do it, and we used to use many of those. Here you have a liter of HeLa cells, and there are about 100,000 HeLa cells per milliliter. So a lot of cells. You can only have a few million in each of these plates. So this is a magnet here that is spinning. There's a stir plate below it, and it keeps the cells suspended. Now, HeLa cells, of course, were the subject of this book by Rebecca Skloot, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. It was then a movie, right? And this was a story of a woman who had developed a cervical tumor in 1950. And when she went for her first exam, the doctor took a piece out of the tumor without telling her, and he made HeLa cells, and they were the first immortal cell line. But he didn't tell her, and she died. And her family found out many years later, and they were very upset about this. And the book is the story of that. And I worked with Rebecca Skloot a bit on the book, and you can find my name in the book a couple of times. It's a very cool story. Today we have other kinds of cell cultures. So far I've told you about cell cultures where you put the cells on a plastic surface and they fill the plate. They become confluent, we say. So the cells are all packed next to each other, and then you can infect them with your viruses. But now we can make different kinds of cell cultures that are more similar to what is in an organism, like a human or some other kind of animal. So, for example, we can make organoid cultures. We have an embryonic stem cell, which is retrieved from a blastocyst. So that's a stem cell that can become anything, depending on how you grow. You can treat it with different growth factors and so forth to make it differentiate into different things. And here, for example, we can differentiate these into gastric organoids, they're called, little organs. They're not really a stomach, but they have many properties of how the cells are organized, liver organized, lungs, and intestinal. And you can use these to more approximate where your virus reproduces. And on the bottom, you can actually take a somatic cell. This is amazing. That you can take a somatic cell, you put 3 plasmids in it, and it becomes an induced pluripotent stem cell. And whenever you see stem cell, it means you can become a lot of other cell types. You can take a skin cell from you or a blood cell and make it immortal, you make it a stem cell, and then you can differentiate it into any of these other organoids here, like optic cup, cortical, inner ear, pituitary organoids, whatever you want. It's just a matter of finding the conditions to incubate these stem cells to get them to differentiate. So then you can see where your virus infects and what it does and so forth. And many of these organoids don't have immune systems, and people are working on trying to introduce immune systems into them because, an organoid is great for seeing what cells are infected by your virus, but there's no immune system. So it's completely artificial, and immune system modulates what's going on. And then finally on the right, another example of a cool kind of cell culture. This is an air-liquid interface culture to approximate the respiratory tract. As you will see, many people use Vero cells to study SARS-CoV-2. Vero is a kidney cell from a vervet monkey, completely irrelevant to SARS-CoV-2. And in fact, the virus does weird things in them. So what you want to do is study them in an air-liquid interface culture. You can take a bit of epithelium from the airway of a human or an animal, and you put them in a culture. It's a culture dish, which is slightly different because there's a membrane at the bottom there. And the membrane is permeable, so the cells form a monolayer on them. And then what you do is you take the medium off, and the cells go, air, we're back in air again. And they differentiate, because that's what they do when they in the respiratory tract. They're exposed to air on one side and fluid on the other. So now they differentiate into mucus producing cells, the ones with cilia on them and so forth. So it becomes approximation of a respiratory tract. So you can infect this with your virus and understand what's going on. So very exciting developments in cell culture. A blank and blank cell is the only cell that can take up a virus particle and replicate it. So if we have to fill in the blanks, we have a couple of...
Oh, let me stop. So we at that point. Let's see who was paying attention. A blank and blank cell is the only cell that can take up a virus particle and replicate it. This is a repeat. I did this on purpose because we had some people not get this answer right last time. So I did this on purpose to play this lecture. A blank and a blank. Come on, is it A, naive and resistant, B, primary and permissive, C, susceptible and permissive, D, susceptible and naive, E, continuous and immortal? What's the answer? A, B, C, D, E. I know y'all can't see it, so I'm going to read it again. A blank and blank cells is the only cell that can take up a virus particle and replicate it. A, naive and resistant. B, primary and permissive. C, susceptible and permissive. D, susceptible and naive. E, continuous and immortal. Corey said B, primary. What's up? Who else got some? All right, let me go on ahead and give y'all this answer.
Possibilities here. Naive and resistant, primary and permissive, susceptible and permissive, susceptible and naive, continuous and immortal. Most of you, 92% of you got C.
Susceptible and permissive. Yep, susceptible and permissive. What up, Unc? What's good? I sent it to your email. I sent the link to your email. Oh, okay. Yeah, we are waiting. All right. Yo, chill. Unc said he waiting at the door.
All right. We on live now, but hold on. Here we go.
Oh, chill.
I'm sharing everything.
He didn't hit the live button. Hold up. Let me, No. He was sharing. He finna let you in. Unc.
All right. He should be coming in. Just let him know we actually up and on live right now, but I'm still sharing. So whatever he talking about, that he on. We're on live. All right. He should be coming in. Just let him know we actually up and on live right now, but I'm still sharing. So whatever he talking about, that he on. We're on live.
All right, y'all. So we live now with Chill Herd. You know what I'm saying? We live now with Chill Herd. Here are the link to join the discussion right now. Hit that link right there. Hit that link right there. Hit that link right there. Join us. Join us. Join us. Books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here.